In this example, I'm going to talk to you guys about initial costs or initial outlays. As you can see, first, we're going to talk about the different types of costs that we have, which are sunk costs, opportunity costs, indirect costs, and unallocated overhead costs. And then what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to figure out if they belong in this initial outlay box. So this column right here, that's what IO stands for, initial outlay. So the first example, sunk cost. And the definition of sunk cost is a cost that is irrelevant to future decision making. So Lori loves to use the example, talking about boyfriends and girlfriends. So say you've been going out with somebody for 6 months. You've been through a lot with this person, but now you're sort of getting irritated. But you've been through so much together. You're like, wow, I put so much into this relationship. I just need to keep it going, right? No, you don't. The thing is about sunk costs is whatever happened in the past is in the past. You need to focus on what's now and forget it. It's sunk. So, and this is Lori's favorite concept, and that is exactly what a sunk cost is. So let's apply it to a business purpose. Say you have a machine that your company bought 2 years ago. This machine's sitting in a different corner of the plant. It's not being used, and you come up with a great idea to use it. Except now your boss is kind of all over you saying, why haven't you put this in your cost analysis? And you're going to be the smart one and tell them, guess what? This is a sunk cost. We bought it 2 years ago. Nobody's using it. And even if we do this project or if we don't do this project, the machine's still sitting in the corner of this company. So obviously this is not going to go into our cost analysis or our initial cost anyways. So remember this. Never add sunk costs to your initial costs. Next example is opportunity costs. Now this is my favorite thing. And opportunity costs are whatever we're forgoing or giving up. So we can talk about we're giving up something as a matter of time. So, in college, you could either be studying, and when you're studying, what's the next best thing you could be doing? Probably playing video games with your friends, going to movies, going shopping, whatever it is, that's what you're giving up. And that cost is relevant to a lot of decision making. So let's use the business example. We can still use that machine that's sitting in that corner, not being used, right? We already determined it's a sunk cost, so we're not going to use whatever that machine costs to use for the company in our analysis. But for opportunity cost purposes, we could either sell it or use it, right? So if it hasn't been used in 2 years, you might want to sell it. But yes, you did come up with this brilliant idea. Let's use this machine. Well, if we use the machine, we can't sell it. So whatever we could sell it for, that's basically what we're giving up. And now that's an opportunity cost. Another example of an opportunity cost could be, developing land. Say, actually, for example, St. Bonaventure. We own the castle property across the street. We've been holding that for a while. We can either build on it or sell it. If we decide to build on it, we're giving up the opportunity of selling that land. So if we ever did an analysis, a cost analysis of that, we would want to include this opportunity cost that we're giving up. And because that could actually potentially affect our decision making. And so yes, we will include opportunity costs. Now in indirect costs, the easiest one to talk about is cannibalization. And the most relevant probably topic right now is the iPads. So the iPad 3 just came out, and that's going to cannibalize on the iPad 2 sales. So you're in the same market, the iPad 2 and the iPad 3 are pretty much the same thing. What's going to happen when you release the iPad 3? The iPad 2 sales are going to go way down. So when you cannibalize into the iPad 2 sales, you want to include that in your analysis because you're competing with the same thing and you're the same company. So yes, we are going to include indirect costs. Lastly, we have unallocated overhead. Now think of a plant again, the same plant that we were talking about with the machine. It's a big plant. And you are going to heat this plant always, right? Say we used to live in a very cold climate and we always constantly need heat. Well, you're not going to just section off the plant. The whole thing's going to be heated. So that cost is kind of fixed in a sense. And the thing that we want to talk about most for unallocated overhead is if a manager were to come to you and say, well, I need different appliances or heating, electric, whatever costs put into this, you're not going to put them in your analysis because that plant is going to be heated regardless. So unallocated overhead, that's a big no. Do not put those in your costs. And that could also be selling and administrative costs, that could be marketing costs, whatever you want to say. Whatever the company is going to do regardless of you going forward the project or not, that's not going to be included in the initial cost. And this is why we always talk about incremental cash flows. So what cash flows are actually just for our project sense. So if the cost definitely changes our decision making, then it's going to be included. If it has nothing to do with our decision making, then it's not going to be included. So keep asking yourself that question when you're going through these. So here's just one little word problem example of initial costs. It says, what is the initial cost for a project if the equipment you bought costs $440,000, installation costs are $20,000, training that you will need to give your employees costs $35,000, and you need to set aside $15,000 for initial working capital? Well, I can tell you, we're going to add all these together, and that's going to be our initial cost. So we have the 440, we have 20,000, we have 35,000, and we have the 15,000. This is going to be our initial cost. So therefore, our initial cost would be $510,000.